Captain Arenos Karlaen backhanded the heretic with his massive armoured fist. Bone crunched under the blow, and the man was sent flying off the edge of the shrine with a thin scream. No sooner had the cultist's broken body plunged out of sight than a dozen more cultists scrambled out of the twisted ruin, clutching autoguns and snarling curses. In the fraction of a second it took for the heretics to raise their guns, Karlaen's storm bolter roared to life. The two closest cultists were torn apart in thick sprays of gore as the bolt shells hit them. Undaunted by the fate of their comrades, the others sprayed a torrent of bullets at the captain. Without so much as flinching, Arenos thundered toward the deviants, rounds sparkling off his crimson Terminator armor. As he closed the distance, 3 more cultists were turned into showers of meat by concentrated stormbolter fire. A stride away from his foes, Karlaen triggered his thunderhammer, a halo of crackling energy erupting around its blunt head. With brutal economy of motion, Arenos smashed apart the survivors, his hammer pulverizing the cultists in gushing explosions of blood, until only their mangled remains lay at his feet. Captain advanced into the ruined shrine, his weapon's power field hissing with evaporating blood. Once a place sacred to the Emperor, it had been defiled by the Xenos cult. Everywhere crude alien icons decorated the walls. Straining his enhanced senses, Karlaen scanned the shadows and listened for any sign of the creature he sought. Then a faint creaking drew his attention, and his eyes drifted up until they fixed upon the shattered auto-pulpit above the altar of the Emperor. The tangled remains of the machine was moving. Something with too many arms was slowly untangling itself from the ruin of glass and steel. Karlaen snapped up his stormbolter and squeezed the trigger, but the Broodlord was quicker. Like a bolt of lightning, the creature darted across the wall, the stone exploding in its wake as Karlaen fired a long, continuous burst. It hit the floor only yards away, twisting out of Arenos' field of fire, before leaping across the room. As it sailed past the captain, one of its claws tore a ragged wound across his shoulder, ripping away ceramite and carving open flesh. But in that instant, Karlaen's weapon struck the beast's side, spraying him in ichor. The Broodlord hit the ground and turned, just as Karlaen lowered his gun and fired, painting the altar with the remains of its head. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and important faces of the Warhammer 40k setting, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. And today, we are to discuss one of the leaders of the Imperium, one of its paragons. But no backroom dealer and command tent lurker is Captain Karlaen, as he is an Adeptus Astartes, a space marine of the highest order. For he leads one of the most devastating and courageous forces that the Emperor commands, the elite of the Sons of Sanguinius, the Blood Angels' own first company, the Archangels. So, as usual, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote Captain Arenos Karlaen. No Space Marine earns the mantle of Captain of the Chapter's first company without the faith of his Chapter Master and the respect of his battle brothers. Captain Karlaen has served the Blood Angels with distinction for over 4 centuries, ascending to the leadership of the Archangels after serving within the first company for over a century of war and carnage. In this time, he has gained the admiration of his peers and Commander Dante himself. Arenos Karlaen possesses a keen tactical mind that has guided his brothers to victory time after time. It was this singular understanding of warfare that first drew the attentions of his company captain and Commander Dante. While all Space Marines undergo rigorous psycho-conditioning and constant tactical training, Arenos' abilities go beyond this. He is able to gain the measure of a conflict at a glance and formulate an effective response, often drawing from the ancient teachings of the Codex Astartes. As a young battle brother, Karlaen first displayed his tactical acumen during the war for Barastir 19 against the speed freaks of War Krugdak. When Karlaen's sergeant was decapitated by an orc cannon, he assumed command of his squad. Using the world's sky bridge network as a battlefield, Karlaen trapped the Xenos among the bridge's complex cogwork gates. Robbed of their mobility, the orcs became easy prey for the Space Marines. This action would be the first of many to draw the eye of Dante. More victories followed, and with each one Karlaen's renown amongst the Blood Angels increased. When Aranos entered the ranks of the Archangels, it was as a veteran sergeant of a Terminator squad. The destruction of more than half a dozen Space Hulks can be laid at Aranos' feet, and since entering the Blood Angels' first company, he has led many of the missions to purge the Imperium of these insidious threats. Doom of Vorgoth, Divine Purgatory, and Twilight Aegis are names now synonymous with Karlaen, the captain responsible for clearing these Space Hulks with only a handful of battle brothers. It was on the Doom of Vorgoth that Aranos was almost killed by the Necrogolem, a Nurgle demon of meat and metal. The vile creature had turned the Space Hulk into a playground of pestilence and disease, filled with myriad traps to snare the unwary. Karlaen would eventually destroy the creature by venting its sump palace to the void and freezing the Necrogolem in a tomb of its own flesh. Captain Aranos Karlaen wears a suit of ancient Terminator armor, a mark of his rank within the Archangels, and a reward for his unyielding loyalty to the chapter. Karlaen's right eye has been replaced with an arco-bionic lens. A blessed relic of the chapter, the mechanical eye can see in multiple spectrums and has been slave to the target augers of Karlaen's Stormbolter, allowing him to deliver accurate bursts of fire almost without aiming. Captain Karlaen also wields the Hammer of Baal. Karlaen's Thunderhammer is an ancient relic of the Blood Angels chapter, given to him by Dante as a mark of his honoured place as captain of the Archangels. He also has the Aureat Halo. Karlaen's Iron Halo is a relic of the Archangels' company armories and is known as the Aureat Halo. The halo is reputed to have been crafted during the Second Founding. End quote. Karlaen. What a figure of a warrior, but also on the board. Simply magnificent. For Captain Karlaen is a true son of the angel, and his advent spells the footstep of doom to any he is pointed at. And I chose that term with care, for where the archangels are sent, then there is no consideration for pity, restraint, or mercy. When the first company of the Blood Angels are unleashed on a target, then it is sure to be destroyed utterly. For of all the Space Marines that the Imperium has under its command, surely there are few indeed that can match the skill, power, and fury of the sons of the Great Angel when roused to war. Thus to be considered the best of that order is to stand amongst titans, to be a living legend that wields the power of old. And it was Karlaen that was sent to the Shield Worlds to slow the advent of the Tyranids, as outlined in the expansion called Shield of Baal, a glorious box in its time, I can assure you, as I was playing both Blood Angels and Tyranids at the time. Wonderful. Alas, I have yet to read the full events of that confrontation, where the blood of Baal was all but spent, and the great devourer almost gained a fine repast indeed, that of Sanguinius himself, for his body resides on the chapter world of the Blood Angels, Baal. And one must wonder what horrors would have been unleashed upon the galaxy if the Tyranids were able to gain the genetic power of a Primarch, from which to use as a template for their biological weapons of war, their warrior beasts. So let us hope that the sons of Sanguinius can hold the line, and perhaps even push back the great devourer. As if they fail, not only will the entire Imperium Noctis fall, but soon thereafter, with the power of Sanguinius flowing through the veins of the Tyranids, surely so too would the entire galaxy. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to Captain Karlaen of the Blood Angels. If so, then please consider liking and subscribing. If you do, then also hit the notifications button, as I would not want you to miss out. Please also be aware that a quick share of the video goes a long way to the continuation of our little site and community. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make time for fun. Toodaloo.